Hi, if you're watching this, then you signed up for my relationship masterclass last week. If you were able to make it, I'm so happy you could be there. If you weren't able to make it to the class, we missed you. Either way, I wanted to send out this video as a thank you for just signing up for the class. And I wanted to share some extra tips about a topic that seemed to deeply resonate for most of the people who joined us last week. And that's around the topic of triggers. Now, who hasn't experienced feeling triggered before? Triggers are those strong, intense emotional reactions that can rock our nervous system to their core. In hindsight, we might look back on the way that we reacted, maybe even with judgment, asking, why did I react that way? It wasn't that big of a deal. But what we learned last week is that when we're triggered, it's taking us back to a childhood wound that still needs to be acknowledged and is still in need of healing. And then we talked about how we can bring healing to that part of us that still needs to be seen and acknowledged and healed. The first step is just to pause in those moments where we're feeling triggered and to tell ourselves, hey, this is how I'm feeling. This is what's going on. The second step is to bring some healing to our nervous systems by using the breath. Just a couple of deep breaths can take us from a very reactive state to a more regulated nervous system. From there, the third step is to start to dig a little deeper, to look back and maybe start to dive into what is it that I needed in that moment but didn't receive? And how is that connected to my childhood? Did I feel unseen? Did I feel unsafe? What did I need as a child that I didn't receive that I can give myself now? And from there, the final step is to give yourself those things. Now, on one of the calls, I shared a personal example of how I do this in real time with myself. That's what I wanted to share with you today, because it can be such a powerful and healing tool. So many months ago, I was at a networking event where we were given the opportunity to stand up and introduce ourselves, just saying who we are and sharing a little bit about what we do. Now, I have practiced and given this speech over and over again, but it never fails. When I know the opportunity is coming, I start to get really nervous. My nervous system itself revs up. My heart is racing. It feels like all of a sudden I have a heart in the middle of my stomach that is pounding out. My hands get really sweaty. My mind starts to race. So instead of having to battle through this every time, I finally took my own advice and started tending to my inner child. Now, knowing what I know about my own childhood, I knew that I struggle with rejection and abandonment issues. So when I'm standing up and putting myself out there in front of a group of people, that can be very triggering. I feel unsafe. So what I started doing was giving a little pep talk to that younger part of myself, my inner child. Now for me, it helps to pretend that she's sitting right there next to me and that I can talk her through everything that I'm experiencing. I look over at her and I say, hey, we got this. You are not alone. You're here with me and I can keep you safe. We can do this together. And look around this room. I know some of these people. And you know what? These people really like us. They're not going to leave just because we say who we are and we tell them what we do. They're kind of excited to hear from us. You're going to be well received, and I'm going to be right here with you as we do this together. I started making a habit of this and doing it over and over again. And what I found is that my heart rate started to slow. My palms quit sweating. I felt grounded in the present moment. and my once racing mind started to slow down. It was quiet. I had clarity. I felt more confident. I felt more calm. And the thing that used to once be so triggering to me didn't have as much power over me anymore. I hope that this will give you some ideas of ways that you can start to give your inner child pep talks when you're feeling triggered. Tell her what she needs to hear. Remind her that she is always safe with you, that she's always seen by you. And as you make this a regular habit, I would love to hear from you and to find out what kind of effect and impact this has on the things that used to trigger you. Again, thanks so much for signing up for my relationship masterclass. I hope the whole class was helpful and that you had some really big takeaways. And I hope that you'll be able to use this tip and tend to your triggers and your inner child from here on out. Thanks again, and see you soon.